Well, hello. Here I am. I'm just finished doing one of the favorite things there is to do when you're driving on the road. Well, when you're on the road, hitting up a nice bathroom, which I've just done. I am in Kremmling, Colorado. This has been the worst day that I've had this neck of the woods down south. And I've had some bad days. As far as the weather goes, as far as my work goes, fine. I haven't got too much to complain about there. So I thought that I would see what the Trough Road looks like. I was on it this morning, and it was basically just a big foggy drive. Snowy and foggy, with washboards. I still like the road. I think it's the best road of the three choices that people have to get over that mountain range, over the Gore range. And those three choices are typically Rabbit Ears and Gore Pass. But the Trough Road is, not that many people know about it. I don't understand why. Maybe they just believe it's so far out of the way that it doesn't make sense. But really, the Trough Road adds 12 miles to a 300-mile day. So I am not complaining at all about that. And last time we came this way, helicopter was coming by. The camera had just ran out on me coming back from Fraser. And I was in Fraser and Granby, but it really, I'm still figuring out how I want to do this. But I thought the Trough Road is such an interesting road, at least to me. And actually, I think it's a great alternative that not that many people know about. Not that my little channel is ever going to grow enough that it creates traffic jams on the Trough Road. And actually, in the summer, a lot of people get on the Trough Road. That's when the Trough Road is really busy. All the recreational traffic up there. But not only that, a lot of people use it. It's a nice shortcut for certain people, and there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people that get on it. I also have a story. I'm trying to figure out how to tell this story without, well, how do I put this? Without being angry or mean. I'd like to tell this story that, well, it's an interesting story. Let me just see if I can tell it and keep it reasonably, I don't know, reasonably on track. Yeah, that's a good term. When I was a kid, I had some friends in Craig. We all worked at the same place. And as a kid, I was more of a cowboy, I think, than I was a hippie. I rode horses, I roped, I chewed tobacco, all that stuff. Well, where I was working with these people, I ran into some of the long-haired hippie type people. And they were nice guys. They were my friends. Rode to work with them and whatever. The one thing that kind of annoyed me about them was that they were always pushing me to smoke pot. Well, come on, man, smoke pot. Come on, do it. I tried it. I didn't like it. I've never liked it. It's not for me. So anyway, then a couple years later, one of the guys that had pushed me to smoke pot found Jesus. And I think that's a good thing. I believe in God. And it's certainly not a stretch to believe that people are all sinners. Whether you see bad things as sins or not, it's up to you. And so I sort of lost touch with these guys, lost touch with the guy who'd become a Christian. But that was great. He had a family, whatever. I knew his wife, whatever. But so, fast forward about somebody took a digger in that hole right there. Fast forward about 25 years, I guess. Yeah, that's about right. Maybe 30. I have been married, I got divorced, and I've had relationships off and on. The last serious relationship I had was with a Venezuelan girl, and actually built the house that I'm living in for her. But, like a lot of things that happen, yeah. So me and that girl went our separate ways, amicably, I would think. I talked to her a couple of years ago. She's in Spain now. I'm glad she got out of Venezuela. It's a bad place to be. I was there when it was so bad. Not a good place to be. Anyway, I was single, and so I would ask girls out from time to time. I'd go out with some. I'd get turned down. Sometimes I wouldn't, other times. But I asked this girl out in particular, some girl that worked as a waitress at a local restaurant. I mean, they were always easy pickings to ask out. And, and it always works out. Waitresses would get good tips from the guys like me that would, ask them out. That's kind of how it works, I guess. At least, single guys look at things that way. And waitresses do get a lot of money from single guys in the form of tips. Go ahead, just shift down. So I asked this girl out. I figure she probably wasn't more than maybe 10 years younger. I was pretty sure she was younger than me, but I didn't figure any more than like 10 years younger at the time. And then a few months later, I ran into this guy, the guy that became a Christian, and he chewed me out for asking such a young girl out, like I had done something really bad. And I didn't really say anything. I didn't defend myself. I just went like, oh. What do you say when someone comes up to you you haven't seen in a long time, and they say something like that? And I'm thinking, and I thought to myself, well, what's the deal here? And I realized that this girl was apparently a lot younger than I thought she was. I had no idea. I thought she was, like I said, within about 10 years of me. Or I wouldn't have asked her out, because I really don't like a huge age difference. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. When I was really young, I went out with a girl who was under 18, and I was like 21 or 22. And it was very uncomfortable. Went to a concert, and I felt like her dad, her babysitter. And so we got to the concert, And she said, I'll see you later. And I said, all right, well, we'll pick, whatever. I was happy. I did not want to be with that girl. Seriously did not want to be with her in the form of a date. But I was fine to, go to the concert, let her go do her thing. And so we went our separate ways and we did whatever. And I just made sure to never get myself in that situation again because I'm just not impressed. Now, if I met a girl and intellectually we clicked, but we'd really, really have to click. And we'd have to be, very similar. Anyway, I'm just not into that. I don't like that. And the impression that I was left with is that my friend thought I was just a skanky guy, looking for, and that was not it at all. However, I was never able to explain this to him. I never have. So, fine. So fast forward to this year, about another 20 years, maybe 15 years, 10 years, I don't know, whatever I want. I'm kind of iffy on the dates, but not iffy on the rest of the details. Although it was just a few weeks ago, I was having lunch with a couple, my friends, and I've had lunch with this guy for 4 decades. And he's a good guy. So I have lunch with him and his wife, usually Saturday or Sunday, and it's been a very long-standing occurrence. And the way it works for us is we'll go have lunch somewhere. And I'm usually doing what I'm doing now. I'm busy. And if I'm not busy driving, I'm busy working on something in my shop. I do not get the local newspaper. I don't watch the local news. I don't have any of the network news, and I don't want any of that. The news that I get off of YouTube from the people that look at the news and then, recite it back to me, basically. I'm certainly not a mainstream media guy, not at all. Anyway, so the way that this works is that they tell me what happened over the week. This particular week was just at the start of the year, and everybody was griping about the price of eggs. Now, a lot of the reason that the eggs are expensive is because the FDA's been out claiming that chickens have got this avian flu or whatever, and they're killing flocks of chickens everywhere. I don't particularly believe them. I find that very sketchy. But who knows? It was a couple of years ago, China was sending people seeds out of nowhere. You would just get this package of seeds. I threw the ones that I had away, knowing they'd go to a landfill and get covered up. I was thinking that what they were doing was they were trying to spread disease by this crazy thing that they were doing. But a lot of people got these, and I think a lot of people probably opened them up because I think that's really, the whole thing is ridiculous. Why would you do that? Why would a country do that? Well, China is a communist country that wants to take over the world. They have decided it's their right to rule the world. And so their biggest enemy is capitalism and the West. I mean, they've got a reason to do this, and their belief, the communist belief, is that they are gods. So anyway, strange thing. And yes, like I said, I'm trying to stay focused, but here I am growing a tree with all these branches. So I'm going to reel myself back in. So my friends tell me what's going on. They talked about the eggs, and they talked about other things. Now, the way that I react is it's almost like a comedy skit that we're just used to doing. They'll tell me things, and they'll kind of push my buttons, and they know what I'm going to do. So I'll have certain responses, some of the responses are really over the top. And that day, that's how my responses were. They were over the top, basically mimicking some people that we know, that we both know in common. And it's, so picking on some other people by acting like them, being over the top, cussing more than I need to, and just being overly ridiculous. But it's all lighthearted fun, and it's a way that it's kind of a way that we are able to have a light heart, or stay lighthearted about the serious issues that we're talking about, because some of the issues are quite serious. If you're a conservative, you know what I mean. We're under attack. I mean, conservatism, the West is under attack, severely under attack, and I see no signs of that going away anytime soon. And the people that are doing it are winning. But again, I'm branching off. So we were at this local restaurant a few weeks ago. They were telling me these stories about eggs and whatever, the price of this, and what the local people are saying about whatever. And I was doing my typical response to them, acting like I said, some of the people that we know, going over the top, cussing, whatever. I thought that I was being quiet because this was not meant for anyone else. I thought I was being quiet as this was going on. Anyway, so bring back that guy that I was telling you about earlier, who had become a Christian. Before he did, he wanted me to smoke pot. That was part of that. That was part of that thing that those people did back then. That anyway, became a Christian. He didn't do that anymore. How many Christians do that? Don't think too many do. So him and his wife come in, and he's an old guy now, like we all are, older. And they apparently heard every word that I said. Now, they were sitting completely across the restaurant from us. It's a small restaurant, so it wasn't that far away. But I think that the acoustics in the restaurant had a lot to do with it, because I was absolutely not trying to talk loudly. I was trying to keep my tone, or to keep my level quiet enough that other people didn't hear me. I really didn't want other people to hear me. Now, there was a table next to me, a couple people. I think the guy was kind of looking at me like I could tell he could hear some of the things that I was saying. But so this guy comes up to me. We're about done, and he's getting ready to leave. He comes up to me and he says, I heard every word that you said, and I am shocked that the owner of this restaurant didn't ask you to leave. And I was kind of shocked by that. I was like, really? Because I was absolutely not trying to speak to a crowd. I was speaking to my friends, and it was a private conversation. And so I was shocked. I said, really? Wow, that's really strange. And then he stood there, and then he repeated the same thing again about how, they could hear everything, and that he's shocked that this guy didn't kick me out. And I'm thinking, I heard you the first time. I still don't. I have no reply, except that I'm shocked. I had no idea you could hear me. I had no idea that this guy wanted to kick me out. I don't know if he did or not. I have no idea. The guy's my friend, by the way, the guy that owns the restaurant. Probably more of an acquaintance than a friend, but I'd count him as a friend. So I looked over at the table, and I saw his wife, and his wife looked really cranky. Now, maybe his wife just looks cranky nowadays. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a good judge of character. Apparently, I'm not a very good judge of age when it comes to, to the females. But she looked cranky, and he looked disturbed, and they left. Then we were finishing up. Then the owner of the restaurant came over to our table and started chatting with us. He knew all of us. And what was ironic is he was talking about the same exact things that I had been talking about. And we were in complete agreement over these things. He was telling us what I had been saying. I mean, we were basically repeating the same thing, but we are philosophically aligned. So I don't think that my friend was correct that I would have gotten booted out of a restaurant for that, but I'm still, if I was talking really loud, I would have hoped if I was bothering something, they would have said, hey, you're talking loud. You need to pipe down. And I would have quieted down because I had no idea. And so I've been thinking about that a little bit. And the last couple of times that we've gone out, I've thought about that. And I talked to my friends about it. They didn't notice anything different. I mean, it was the same thing that we always do. We make fun of people that are over the top by basically being over the top. That's a pretty normal comedy routine, really. And I guess, like I said, we try to do it to be lighthearted, to just laugh about these things that are serious. And they are serious things. We've lost control as citizens in this state, in Colorado. The state does exactly what it wants, whenever it wants. We don't really count anymore. They have dominioned us, so anytime they want to get something through, they can. And yes, I know that people say, oh, that's not happening, but that is happening. Not only that, I saw the seeds of that happen in Venezuela, where, not to mix stories, but where a communist tried to kill me in Venezuela. And the Venezuelans, I was staying in a building with a bunch of different Venezuelans, and they all had their weapons out when me and my girlfriend showed up to her house. We had no idea what they were doing. Eventually, we figured out what they were doing, and I didn't get shot, and thank goodness, and I appreciate that. I found out that the Venezuelans are quite conservative and they're freedom-loving people. And you know what's despicable is that Venezuelans, I think, have an extremely, as far as seeking asylum, they are definitely people that should be able to seek asylum here. You know what the Biden administration is doing to Venezuelans? He's making them wait in Mexico, but he's letting everyone else in because everyone else comes from a country where they are leftists and they're communists. That's what they want in this country. They are making Venezuelans stay out. That is such in-your-face corruption. I don't even know how to react to that other than this. But I'll be nice right now and I won't cuss. And I actually don't cuss all that much, but I do cuss from time to time. I try not to cuss a lot because when I cuss, I want people to understand the impact that word should have, and it should be a huge impact because I don't cuss a lot. So I'm not sure why this guy was angry with me. Was it because I was cussing, doing this comedy routine, being over the top? Or was it because I was being political? Because I was being political. Overtly conservative. Over the top, but still conservative. And there's not a good line on this road. This is one of the bad things about this road. It's so beat up. The only way to get out of this stuff is to go to the other side of the road. It's a little bit less annoying. I'm going to opt for going over here where it hasn't been packed down as badly. This is bad. So I'm not sure why why the guy was mad at me. But he was mad or upset or distressed. I'm not sure what. I don't know if it was because he's a leftist and maybe they're down and they're woke. Maybe they are woke. A lot of religious people have become woke. They have been, in my opinion, it's some of the worst indoctrination that has gone on in this country. And that is leftists infiltrating and infecting churches and turning decent people into woke communists that believe democracy is a bad thing, and they believe that industry is a bad thing. That's going on. That goes on. Who do we have to thank for that? Well, I'm thinking we might have China to thank for that. Obviously, there are a lot of people. Well, there are a few people, but they're in positions with a big, fuck that side, with a big microphone, and they're able to influence weak-minded people. And I'm not saying these people are weak-minded, but if they have become woke, or maybe they were always woke, I never really knew it. And I don't know what the issue was. Maybe it was the cussing. Because if you're church going, then you really, and I get it, you don't want to hear somebody just cussing out in public and, cussing up a blue streak. And like I said, I've already told you the situation. I was over the top. I was cussing. I was making a caricature of some of the people that we know. And like I said, it was funny for us. It's lighthearted. It's just a way to have a little bit of lightheartedness with the bad things that are going on in our society right now. If somebody didn't know what I was doing, they may not understand that. And maybe that was the case of these people. I don't know. They never really said. He just came up, basically insulted me, and left. So my interaction with this guy, I've bumped into him maybe 4 or 5 times in the last several years. But the last two of 3 interactions, I saw him where he works. And I stopped and talked to him, and that was a pleasant conversation. That deer's got some strange looking horns on it, on his head. Hey guys, got a couple over here. He's got kind of a hole in his back. We saw the bighorn sheep today. That's really cool. I'll probably use that if I record it, if I put this out there. So I'm not sure what that guy was mad about, or if his wife was mad. Like I said, she looked cranky. Maybe she always looks cranky. Maybe I don't even know what people look like. Apparently, like I said, I'm not a very good judge of age. So maybe I'm also not a good judge of happiness. And maybe they didn't understand. I don't believe they did understand the context. Not that the guy stuck around to ask. So, and I'm not sure. Was he telling me this to warn me, your voice is really loud. It carries. You should watch yourself. Or was he just insulting me? Was he just angry? Or was he both? Was he politically mad? Or was he mad because I was cussing? And he felt that was inappropriate. Like I said, I had no idea he could hear me. So I would not do that. Let me rephrase that. there are times when I do get boisterous, and I will do that, but I'll do that if I think the situation warrants it, and this was not one of those times. So I don't know if that guy's even my friend or not. I just have no idea. I've always considered them to be my friends. But maybe that's untrue. Maybe I'm kidding myself. You know, in this world, things happen and people drift apart. I think the ironic thing for me is that the juxtaposition of places, right? Was when I first knew the guy, he was trying to get me to smoke pot. That was an illegal thing to do. And, you know, then now the same guy is chiding, I guess chiding would be the best word I've got, chiding me for being, for someone much younger than I should be getting with, apparently, and having to tell me how to act in society because apparently I don't know. So I'm just saying there's just juxtaposition there that I find interesting. It's an interesting irony. I do not know anything beyond that. I haven't talked to the guy, and I realize that I don't think there's really any point. I think that the feeling I get is when you're that convinced of your convictions that you can go up to somebody, make your spiel, don't give them any opportunity to reply, really, that you probably aren't receptive to anything they have to say. And that's an odd thing for me to think about, because this is like I said, a guy that, you know, supposed to be a church-going guy, forgiving, whatever. I mean, that's the idea of being religious. I don't go to church anymore, but I do, because I do believe in God. And I believe in live and let live. And I do try to treat people the way I think they want to be treated. And so when I found out I was apparently, there weren't that many people in a restaurant anyway, but that was not my intention to do that. I wouldn't do that and subject somebody to that unknowingly, or no, knowingly. One of those terms. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's not really my style. Unless maybe I'm drunk, but I don't really drink. I guess I don't not drink either. I just don't drink. So, So I'm running extremely late today. Today was a horrible day, probably the worst day that I've had. I talked about how much snow I have, but it will probably be in a different video. But it's still the same day. We have so much snow over the weekend. Right now, today is January 30th. So the last week of January, we probably got 2.5 feet of snow and rain since Wednesday through this morning, maybe even more. Well, 2.5 is probably a pretty good guess. I was shoveling every day. I spent one day shoveling from morning to night. And I did get finished, but it was dark when I quit. I was in a little bit of pain, but I will say that changing my diet to keto based, to fat, high fat, low carb is the best way to put it. I know that term high fat probably scares people, but it shouldn't. Speaking of which, I've got some. I couldn't find any cream this morning. I like to get a little jar of cream. But I did find a 16 ounces of half and half. So let's assume it's actually half and half. I'll only be drinking 8 ounces of milk, which is not that many carbohydrates. And I'll get 8 ounces of cream, which is quite a bit of fat. So if there's any truth to the term half and half, I would expect for that, yeah. So I'll finish the story. I don't know what these people were about. I had no idea I was insulting them, but apparently I was, or making them angry, or they were just warning me, and that they weren't in the least bothered. I just don't know. But I certainly wasn't attempting to do any of that. Damn. Opened my milk and spilled it. Not a lot, it was kind of sloshed out. Hello. Okay, I am. What about this small? There's a sign over here that says America lost, and it shows a picture, I think, Biden and Trump. And I completely agree with those people. And I'd like to say something about that. I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. When I hear conservatives say, oh, the left is panicking because of this, it's mainly, I don't want to hang this unfairly on this guy, but it seems like Steve Turley is pretty big about doing that. But I kind of think that Tim Pool likes to use that kind of verbiage also. Maybe I'm wrong about Tim Pool. I don't think I'm wrong about Turley. And I think that I used to watch Bannon. I just don't have the time to watch him anymore. I like Steve Bannon, but I think occasionally they'll say stuff like that, and I disagree wholeheartedly with that. The left is not panicking. This is like a cakewalk for the left. I mean, this is like shooting fish in a barrel for the left. The right has no idea of what to do. The left has them. They've stopped them. They've blocked them at every turn. The latest thing is our voting. The left has, they rule. They are rulers. That's what they want to be. They're rotten bastards that want to rule over people in spite of the fact that they know it's wrong to be that way. They are breaking the laws, but other people that are in power are allowing them to do that. Look at what the judges' decisions have been for any of the lawsuits that have reached that level. I mean, that have reached a judge. They've been pretty much thrown under a bus. There may be one or two that haven't, but for the most part, the judges are in on. They're in on it. They're ideologically lined in alignment with the left, and the left has worked hard, very hard, to achieve this level of success. So, I really hate it when I hear people say, "Oh, the left is panicking now." And it's usually in the terms of, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi is panicking now." Well, she's not really a player anymore. At least, she's not the speaker anymore. But the Republicans are not impressing anyone. Well, they're probably impressing the communists. I think the Republicans have, the establishment Republicans, I think the communists owe them a debt of gratitude for the things that they have done for the cause, the communist cause, not for their constituents. So, the only other comment that I'd like to make to sort of counter the negativity of the comment I just made is that these communists have been at this for over a century now. They have been working tirelessly every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for longer than 99% of us have been alive, to destroy the West. They're making some inroads finally, but it's, okay, as someone who believes in God, a couple points actually. First point is, when people say good is stronger than evil, I say, you're stupid. You are very stupid to say that. Good is not stronger than evil. Evil is stronger than good. It is because evil cheats. When you are trying, if you're a Christian, you believe, I'm just going to stick with, if you're a Christian, you believe in certain things that rights of other people that are inalienable. I got to try to find a better line on this road. That's not too bad. So Christians will try not to cross that line. If you're a communist, all bets are off. Everything is on the table. There goes a big elk. Big dude. He's a big guy. She's a big lady. Okay. She's a lady. This is a cute little valley right here in the summertime. It's just gorgeous. So, to get back to my point, evil cheats. Evil does whatever it takes to win. Good does not. That would just be a philosophical point. So there is absolutely no way that good is better than evil, as far as, or stronger, is not stronger. Good is not stronger than evil. Evil is stronger than good. Better is a different story, but stronger. However, if you believe in God, and you believe that God made this world for us and made all the things in this world, and that there's a reason that we're here, then it's and not only that, but God doesn't make mistakes. That things happen for a reason, and that the liberals, the leftists, winning, well, the communists winning like they've been winning, is not going unnoticed by God. You can't even think that. If you believe in God, you have to believe that God understands what's happening here. Not only that, but God is allowing it. And if God is putting all this time and trouble and effort into us being here and learning something or doing something, if that's the case, would it be more likely that God would just allow communists to take over and ruin this experiment or this experience that he's giving us? And so I say that understanding that maybe what is going to happen is going to be hard times. Maybe the communists are going to rule, and maybe that's part of God's plan. But I entirely believe that God could stop it anytime he wanted to. And so there must be meaning behind this. And if you believe in God and you believe that God is perfect, then you can't really disagree with the things that are going on in the sense that I presented it. You can obviously disagree and not like what's going on. Like, look at World War II. Look at what happened in World War II. And people say, well, how would a loving God let all this stuff happen? I don't know. But I do believe that God is in control. So, well, I think evil is stronger than good. I think God is stronger than evil. Actually, I think that the whole thing that God rolled out, evil was part of that, and evil is a choice that we make. Or we don't have to make that choice, for that matter. Oh well, deep thoughts with back roads of Colorado. I am going to stop here. I've got to clean my back window off. It is in pretty despicably snow-covered condition. Guess I can turn my lights all the way on. Yeah. So my thought about this is that leftists, yes, they use all the advantages that they don't care. They don't care about other people. They don't put other people first, and they will take advantage, every advantage. And they laugh at us, people that believe in God, for that reason. Like, we just let them walk all over us. And in a sense, we do. They don't understand, though, that there is some strength in that. I believe there is strength in that. But I think that the strength comes from God. You know, like whatever God's got cooked up for us, I don't think God is going to allow the communists to destroy it. And maybe that's why that even after a century of 24/7 effort of billions or trillions of dollars being spent, of millions of deaths, that communism hasn't made it. It hasn't got here yet. It's looking bad. It's getting worse here. But these guys make such small inroads. And it's an interesting thing to consider. For all the effort that they're putting in, they get very little back out of it. So I got to wonder about that. I mean, they have all the advantages, right? They do have all the advantages. They've got corrupt judges. They've got corrupt bureaucrats, corrupt politicians. Corruption is everybody is in their pocket. Yet, we are still here. We believe in God. We're still getting by. Industry is still happening. Freedom is still happening. And people still want freedom. So, just an interesting thought. I guess I would sum it up by saying, so yes, maybe evil is stronger than good, but maybe that's not the end of the story. Maybe there's more to the story than meets the eye. Maybe. I don't know. Who does? But it's worth mulling over. I think that I chose right today. This was a good, probably the best road to take. I'm going to get home late. I'll probably roll in about 7. It's 5:15. Yes, I burped. Quite pleased with myself. And I am really glad I got around that truck. I told the story of having to follow a truck for 25 miles that would pull off the side of the road. And he could. There are places on 40 to pull over. And it was annoying. And I did some cussing there. And if I think about it long enough, I might start cussing again. So I'm going to stop that. I'm going to call it good unless for some reason I need to film some more, I will. Other than that, you got to take a look at the Trough Road in some pretty nasty conditions and hear another sad story. A sad story from back roads in Colorado. A sad story. Another silly story, right? And some political stuff. Anyway, take care. If you're driving somewhere, drive careful. See ya.